I am assistant principal in charge of behaviour and culture. That's a huge thing that I'm responsible for. So basically it's looking after the students and supporting them with pastoral needs, helping them with behaviour, any behaviour issues, supporting them to help develop key social skills. I also oversee attendance, I also oversee things like events that are going on in the academy and support our engagement support leads throughout their role as well. Students, on a day-to-day basis, you never know what you're going to get. So it's being able to adapt really quickly to help support them in a variety of different needs. With staff, it's kind of giving them support and guidance on how to support those students within the classroom, but also throughout the academy day, so break times, lunch times, giving staff skills, helping them with CPD on how to work with specific students to support their needs. I'm not sure there is such a thing as a typical day. I currently teach Fortis Trust, but my main role in the past has been teaching maths. In the mornings we have briefing and discuss with staff any key student updates that might be needed to be given, and then also I start the day by meeting and greeting students at the doors, so those that don't come by bus. I meet and greet them every morning, meet with parents. Then it would depend on the day. So I would be on pastoral support, so if there are any issues throughout the school day, that I would be there to be able to help support with those and support students to return back to their lessons if they're struggling. But it could be anything really. At some point we would have different meetings throughout the week, but every day is very different. There isn't such a thing as a typical day in my role, because I never know quite what's going to happen. I think it helps keep you in touch with what is actually happening in lessons. Being able to ensure that whatever we've implemented and asked staff to do, that we're doing ourselves, start as a good role model, but also it helps you pick up if we've asked staff to do something and you as yourself are finding that it doesn't quite work. It helps us understand where staff are coming from to be able to adapt that and change it as we need to. When I did work experience as a student back at secondary school, I actually did a week in a primary school and I loved it. So it kind of gave me the idea that that's the route that I wanted to take. So went off to university, did a degree in teaching, had my first role within a secondary school before I then went on to be a master specialist maths teacher, and then just saw this role and thought, that would be my ideal. I loved working with special needs students in my old school, so to combine the maths and the special needs element was brilliant and gave me a real boost as to that's what I want to do. So I began in September 2012 and I was just a maths teacher. I was able to really adapt quite quickly to the role. I loved the students, managed to really fit in well. And then as I began to grow in confidence, because obviously working with special needs students is very different to working with mainstream students, so it was really important to me to actually get that under my belt first. Then I was given the opportunity to be a pastoral manager, as they were then, of our Key Stage 3 group, and I was covering maternity cover at that point. The member of staff decided they didn't want to come back to that role, so I was offered it on a full-time basis. So I was overseeing the support for the Key Stage 3 students, and then later on the opportunity came up to be assistant principal, so I took that opportunity and was really lucky and got the role. I think just the unpredictability of the day. I love the challenge. I love not knowing what you're actually going to come into. You can come in with a plan for the day and not actually achieve that, but manage something completely different which you weren't expecting. And I think actually the environment of the students and the staff help make this a great place to be. Just being here is a great place because it gives you so much warmth. You never quite know what you're going to get, but the students really warm to you and you can see their personalities grow, which I love seeing over time. Especially when you've been here a long period of time, you can kind of watch them from when they come in year 7 until they leave in year 14, and it's great to see the transformation. And I think the staff work really well together, and that helps support that supportive environment for students. So it allows them to grow themselves, but also staff to grow as well and to develop their skills. And I just think the whole place is great to be in. I think you really need to love working with special needs students. It can be really tricky if you come in and you aren't willing to adapt and change and to fit within the environment that the students are working in, because I think that's really important here at Bradfields, but also in the other provisions as well, being able to adapt, being adaptable, because as I said, you don't know what you're going to get each day, so you have to be able to be quite flexible as well and adaptable to fit in with whatever's happening, but I would say go for it. Absolutely love it. So I think the Trust in itself is a very supportive environment, so within staff and supportiveness, so each department's very supportive, each community is very supportive, but also forward to employment, they work really well and close together to actually support each other. So I think that development there in a wide variety of needs and positions as well, because I think you need to be able to learn on the job and be able to be coached and develop your own skills, and I think that's something that the Trust do really well. I think the students are the bit that I love most. I think they are the reason you come in every day, even if you've had a tricky day the day before and you know those students are going to still struggle that day. You kind of just keep that perseverance up, and I think going through and making sure that you can see that progress, I think that's the bit I love the most. Actually knowing you've worked really hard with the student and actually you can see the progress and see them come out the other side of whatever it is they're struggling with at that point. So I've been lucky to go on quite a few training courses, so they have been really helpful within my different roles. So I've recently been on like a behaviour conference just to ensure that we are up to date with national standards and developments that way that have come up so that we are aware. I'm currently doing the trauma informed practice, which we will then support students and staff with and help continue and present CPD sessions to staff as well. I think that's one thing I've grown in a lot, is my ability to present CPD sessions. At the beginning I was quite nervous in front of talking to a large number of people, but I think over time I've got a lot better at doing that. There's been a lot of CPD opportunities, probably too many to list to be honest, but that's been really helpful for each one of my roles to help me continue to develop and then share it with the rest of the staff as well. I hope I'm right in saying that I've given them someone they can talk to and given them the opportunity to be listened, to then be able to learn how to move forward. A number of the students, especially as they go up higher into the school and get a little bit older, even though I might not see them on a regular basis anymore, they will still pop back and see me, and I think that's important that we've built those relationships up to actually support them throughout their journey and further on. And if I've actually seen them once they've left the academy, or I've seen them in the high street or something, they'll still come over and say hi, and I think that shows that I've kind of made a good relationship with them and made a good link with them, even though maybe they've gone on to things further than us and actually got a little bit older, and normally you wouldn't know and go and say hi to your teacher, but they still come over and say hi. I think with events, there's been so many, and I might not necessarily take the lead, but also be there just to kind of be an ear to kind of sound things off on. So I think some of the key events that staff have worked on, and I've been there to support them with that, is things like the Queen's Jubilee, and then we've also done Bradstock as well. So kind of just being there to support. So it's not necessarily me leading, they're helping them, but also wider than that, I've been involved in organising a lot of trips for students to ensure they are getting that enrichment. And so I've led on a number of activity weeks in the past, making sure students go off site and experience things that maybe they wouldn't necessarily do all the time, taking them to the seaside, or we've taken them to the pantomimes, or last year for one of their Up and A trips, which is their reward trip, we went to Hampton Court, which I organised. So just giving them those opportunities to make sure that they have that enrichment as well as their normal day-to-day curriculum. I think there are so many memories and so many moments. I think recently roller skating at the 50s night that we did, so having to waitress on roller skates was one of the moments. I think, yeah, being pulled in at the last minute to be Sleeping Beauty in the pantomime, with about 5 days notice. I think there are so many, but I think it centres around the staff more. The students are always there and are always memorable, but I find that the relationship with staff actually help build those memories.